had a great offseason, great OTAs and mini camp, so it was about taking another step, and I think we're heading in that direction. And the competition is high. The competition makes practice fun. It raises everybody's level and standard, and that's all you can ask for. We'll continue grinding, pushing each other, pushing ourselves, and knowing that that's the only thing that we can do right now is each and every day try to get better, 1% better, and understanding that's going to compound and put together a team that we're proud of.
The Dallas Cowboys presentation of Countdown to Kickoff, presented by AT&T, is sponsored by Bank of America. What would you like the power to do? Reliant, official energy provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Yeti, officially licensed Yeti cowboy gear, is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concessions, and on Yeti.com. And by AT&T. Connecting changes everything.
For some, it's the final tune-up toward the regular season, while for others, it's one last opportunity to make an impact and to find their way onto an NFL roster. However you spin it, there is plenty on the line tonight in the final preseason game of 2025 from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. This is Countdown to Kickoff for the Atlanta Falcons, taking on your Dallas Cowboys. Down here on the sideline in Arlington, alongside Mickey Spagnola, I'm Kyle Yeomans, now joined by head coach of your Dallas Cowboys, Brian Schottenheimer. Training camp in the rearview mirror, the final preseason game on the docket. One last opportunity to evaluate. Sum it up for me, Brian. What's the impact of today going to be?
Well, it's big. We talked to the guys today about it, Kyle. Like, literally, it's one of those deals where these guys can be nervous, they can be tight if they want, but that doesn't help them. Go play. I can't tell you how many times I've seen guys that were on the bubble go out in the third preseason game, or really the fourth preseason game, go out there and literally just make all these game-changing plays and impact plays, and then they solidify a spot on the roster. So what we talked about today was, hey, man, have fun, play free, be confident, and enjoy being with your brothers.
So Tuesday's cut-down date, I'm sure the guys know that. For you and the staff, how much of a juggling act is this, knowing that this last couple practices I counted, like, for whatever reason, 13 guys not practicing. So you have to sort of fill in the blanks on some injuries, but then you got to keep the roster stacked at maybe some of those positions.
Yeah, it's a puzzle. It really is. It's a puzzle. And again, when you look at the game tonight, you're going to see there's a number of guys not playing, and that doesn't mean anything. It just means that there's certain guys that are playing that we want to evaluate. Maybe we haven't seen as much. You're going to see a guy like Jaden Blue tonight, who we're excited to see what he does, and a player with a ton of potential. But the most important thing for us right now is these guys get a chance to compete. Let's get through this game, and then obviously the competitive part of the business takes over, because it's roster construction. And I love doing that, and I love doing that alongside Will and Jerry and Steven and all of ownership and personnel.
So it sounds like Joe Milton's going to get another start. What step do you want to see him take, the next step that he needs to take? Yeah,
I thought Joe had a good week of practice. I think two things. Number one, move the football team. You know, got to get the ball in the end zone more. We know that. And then use his legs a little bit. You know, I think that's what you saw him these last couple practices in Frisco in front of the fans, was he was using his legs. He's an incredible athlete. And so when things break down or things go off script, there's no reason that Joe shouldn't do a great job of attacking and making plays with both his legs as a passer and his legs as a runner.
You mentioned the running back position, getting an opportunity to see Jaden Blue tonight. No Miles Sanders on the field. What went into that decision to rest Sanders? And what is your overall view of how those running backs have competed so far?
A very competitive room. Jaden's a guy a lot like when you talk about a Joe Milton that you haven't seen a lot, so you don't know a whole lot. He obviously started off very, very good, but then got slowed down with injuries. Miles got dinged up a little bit the other day, and so veteran player. And again, there's good backs. You're going to see Deuce. You're going to see Jaden. You're going to see Phil Maffa. You're going to see Malik Davis. So, I mean, there's plenty of guys that are excited to go out there and tote the rock for us and make impact plays.
So when we started, I talked about the juggling act. One of the spots you have is the cornerback position. Yeah. With, I don't know if it's unknown on guys who are on reserve lists, if they're going to be ready or not. So there's some young guys that you're going to really have to take a look at in case they have to be on that 53-man roster.
that's something, Mickey, that we'll be really, we'll be studying it hard and looking at it, not just the waiver wire, but our guys. And like, there's going to be hopefully 65 to 70 plays tonight where we can look at and evaluate different guys in different positions. We've had some guys like Childress and Kemon Hall that have done great things at the nickel spot, move some of those guys around and see what other spots that they can fill in. But again, this week and this weekend really for personnel guys and coaches is a grind, because there's 31 other teams. There's going to be 40-ish cuts on every team, and these guys have to be experts on all of those guys. And so you talk about some sleepless nights for the scouts and the personnel guys on the pro side and then coaches. But it's what we do, and we love it, and it's competing every day to build the best roster that we can.
Not only is this the final opportunity for many guys to make an impact tonight, it's the final opportunity for you to tune up as a play caller. How much have you looked into that? And you've talked about the 7-iron. Can we see maybe something else in the bag tonight? You're going to see a driver, maybe a 3-wood. Where are we going with it?
Well, it depends. If I get mad, I do it. That's what happens. I test my discipline sometimes, and if I get pissed off, I don't know if I can even say that word on this show.
You just did.
I did, so you guys will figure it out. Sorry, Rox, and whoever's doing that. But, the 7-iron is going to be out tonight, but again, here's the deal. It's us going against a good football team. Yeah. They obviously want to play well. They want to win. We want to play well. We want to win. But it's going to come down to execution. And if we make enough plays, then we'll find a way to win, and that's the objective.
Well, Coach, it's always been a pleasure getting to catch up with you prior to these games. Looking forward to the regular season. Looking forward to see what you guys have out there tonight as well.
It's going to be fun. Always appreciate you guys, and again, look forward to this.
No doubt about it. Brian Schottenheimer joining us here on Countdown to Kickoff. When we come back, we're going to talk to Jerry Jones here on the sideline at AT&T Stadium. He's got a new documentary out. We'll hear his thoughts when we come back. This segment is brought to you by Dr. Pepper. Raise your Dr. Pepper glass to America's team. It's a Pepper thing. AT&T Stadium here in Arlington, the site of preseason game number 3, as we are now joined by the owner, the president and the GM of the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, on the sideline. Mr. Jones, it's always a pleasure, but I feel like we're in the presence of Netflix superstardom after America's team, the Gambler, and his Cowboys debuted this week. What is your thought on the reception of the documentary and some of the hype and praise that it's come from?
Well, number one, we sure appreciate the job that you guys do. We really do. And you put a sense of, dare I say, elevation to it. And so I appreciate you doing that about the Netflix thing, too, a little bit there, too. But I'll tell you why I'm excited tonight, and I always am about this game, is we'll have as many as 30 that not make the cut, so to speak.
Wow.
And, boy, you're getting the best they've got out here tonight, because the talent has just improved over the years in many, many ways. And so it's competitive with the guys that might be at the bottom of our roster, which will play a lot of football for us. So I really enjoy this last preseason game.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Watching the episodes on Netflix, it reminded me the priority you made in '91 to get a backup quarterback, Steve Berline.
Yep.
You remember you had to try 2 or 3 times to trade for him. And I was wondering, it made an impression on me that was a priority back then when you guys were really successful. Do you look at it the same way all these years later?
One of my biggest surprises about the documentary is the part of Steve Walsh. We used, in our very first draft, we used one of our first-round supplemental for Steve Walsh. And Steve Walsh was serious competition for Troy. And that had its issues in the first and really parts of that year. I got with Jim Finks of New Orleans and traded Steve at that time. And I'll never forget talking with Jimmy, and Jimmy said, the best quarterback, obviously, is number 8. But because he was in our system in Miami, and because our offensive coach is now the Cowboys' offensive coach, you could get there quicker with Steve. But we got too good a deal. I went up to New York, and the New Orleans Saints gave us a couple of 1s and a 2, and maybe it was 1-1 and 1-2, and parts of it I thought is equivalent of 2 number 1 picks, and we just used the 1 supplemental. My point is, from the get-go, we were always focused on the backup quarterback. And all you have to do is look at the time that we've missed with our premium quarterbacks over the years. And that's kind of being cavalier about it, but Momo missed a little time. Aikman missed a little time. Okay, Dax missed a little time. So that backup quarterback is serious stuff.
Yeah, and not only did you go get Steve Berline, but then when he moved on, you traded, or you were able to pick up Bernie Kosar, and then Rodney Peete, and then Wade Wilson, and was like that backup quarterback spot was always filled after you lost Walsh, remember?
Yeah.
And then, you know, you needed your backup the end of that 90 season.
Well, nowadays, the backup quarterback is very much needed, but relative to the salary cap, can you afford the backup quarterback that meets the mix?
Yeah.
Because there's no question that if it's a veteran that's good enough to be on a roster, he's taking up a tackle spot, or he might be taking up 2 tackle spots. And you'll use those tackles for sure. Your mentality is, I hope we're not using the backup quarterback, but it's never that.
Now, you spoke on evaluation and how it has changed over the years. It feels like this year in particular has been tough to evaluate the guys that are going to be on the field again tonight, whether it be because certain players at certain positions have missed time, or you've got a couple guys that you're waiting to get back from injury. Whatever that may be, what's been the biggest challenge evaluating this team for the current 53-man roster that comes up on Tuesday?
Well, it's always a challenge because the game, and especially the training camp game, you have missed out if you don't get quite a bit of physical work, because in practice you're not going to get it during the season, and you sure didn't get it in the spring. Since it is physical, then you have the injury. You really get a chance to see many times how a young player or a player responds to injury. That's a big deal. That's a real big deal. We all know that ability is really what we all think of the utmost. But right in behind it, I mean right close to behind ability, is availability. And you're not available if you're hurt. And so you get to consider and see the prospective players that are going to be playing maybe at the bottom of the roster or into the future.
Yeah.
You get to weigh their ability to deal with nicks and bruises and those kinds of things. And boy, from the day you walk out here when the season starts, everybody's playing hurt.
Jerry, you got a new head coach, basically new coordinators, almost a new coaching staff, and I don't know if everybody understands how young this team is. You have some veterans, right? But there's a lot of young guys. You mentioned the number of guys that are trying to make this team. So having said that, your expectations for this season?
Well, by design, we put a lot of commitment into Dak Prescott. And by design, we put a lot of commitment into his go-to guy, Lamb.
Oh, yeah.
And by design, we have really tried to put together playmakers. Now, some of those, unfortunately, are going to have to come in 2 and 3 weeks, 4 weeks down the road, because we're being careful with a player that could play tonight but doesn't need to play for 2 or 3 weeks. You don't need to expose that at this particular time. Having said all of that, we attempted to really improve our offensive line. And we really attempted to improve the offensive line through really the coaching. That sounds it. I guess it is disparaging to the former coaches, but we really do. Our coordinator was head of the offensive line in college. That's not an accident. And then, of course, the guy that coaches the offensive line is one of the best in the business.
Yeah.
Having said all of that, that's where we wanted to go. I thought our offensive line, short of Dak's injury, last year was the toughest thing we had to deal with, was we couldn't keep them blocked out or block them up for the run game.
Well, we're getting closer and closer to that opener, September 4th against Philadelphia. I know you're excited about it. I know you're excited to get the preseason in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you taking some time. Have some fun tonight in the preseason finale.
Well, we're all here for our fans.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, we got our fans watching us. And tonight, we want to see the bottom part of what is going to be the roster. And we want to see them battle it out and see some things. I, too, am disappointed when we don't win on any basis a preseason game. But that doesn't last but right at that end. What you're really looking at is the individual performances of everybody that are involved. And that's not just covering up a bad score. That's really what you're looking for out here. You can win these games. Our first year, we won 3. Denver beat us, the only team to beat us in 4 preseason. They kept John Elway in the game in his prime all the way into overtime. And they finally beat us, but we were 3-1. We had it made with NFL. We were going to get them. We won one damn football
all the way
game
through
for the rest of the season.
Oh, man.
So much for that. But there's a lot to see out here tonight.
Jerry, thank you so
Thanks,
much for
guys.
taking time. When we come back, the evaluation continues for one Joe Milton at quarterback. Nick Eatman breaks down what we could see from Joe Milton tonight. This segment was brought to you by Dr. Pepper. Raise your Dr. Pepper glass to America's team. It's a Pepper thing. Be sure to download the Cowboys Now app on your connected TV to get the latest news and programs all year long on your home TV by downloading the Cowboys Now app. Jerry Jones, fresh off the set here on Countdown to Kickoff, talking to a local youth flag football team. Really cool to see a moment like that come to fruition as we welcome you back in to Countdown to Kickoff. Falcons Cowboys coming up very shortly. We're now joined by Nick Eatman of DallasCowboys.com, and we've talked plenty. Yeah, watch out. We've talked plenty about Joe Milton and his involvement today, both with Schottenheimer and with Jerry Jones. But I'm interested to see what you're looking for when it comes to Joe Milton this week.
Well, I think we just want to see how he handles this moment. And, you know, earlier this week at practice at the Ford Center, he was talking about, you know, just how big this game is going to be for him. And he started out by saying, you know, just another game. But as he finished his answer, you could tell maybe a little bit more than that.
I feel like I show the team what I'm capable of every day. I show up and be the same person every day. I come out with the same energy. Going into this game, ain't nothing going to change about my mindset. Nothing going to change about the way that I'm approaching the game. Everything's going to be the same. This week is just a little bit different because I'm treating it like a real season game. Far as from the other 2 previous games, it wasn't too much of into it. It was kind of just treating it like a preseason, but kind of treating this one like a real game and just, you know, going what it is and watching more film of it. So.
And treating this like a real game, and he did allude to that, more reps in the not only on the practice field, but also studying as well, just to get the mental reps as that he can. And I think that's just going to be a big moment for him. He understands that if he's going to be the backup quarterback here, he's going to have a really big game.
And I think an interesting element to this is not only did he have to battle a former Dallas Cowboys backup last week in Cooper Rush with the Ravens, just because of the current signings and what happened this week, Ben DiNucci is on the other sideline in Atlanta, former Cowboys backup quarterback, former 7th-round pick. Does that add an extra wrinkle into this whole thing?
I think what it shows is that 7th-round picks, it doesn't matter if it's your 7th-round pick or another 7th-rounder, you're fighting for your life. And Ben DiNucci's trying to make the team or at least put some good reps on tape out there. And same with Milton. And I think this was a lot like last year's situation with you know, Trey Lance. You know, just because I feel like they want to give him the most reps, but he's probably not going to be the backup. I have a hard time thinking the Cowboys will roll with him as number 2, but they want to give him the most snaps as possible.
So getting those snaps, what do you think the coaches need to see improve from first start to second start to third start?
I think he needs to be a football player. I say this about Dak a lot, and I know that's very cliche, but not just a quarterback, but be a football player that plays quarterback. And that means if you have to tuck it on and run. Now get out of bounds or slide or do your thing. But that's what gets him going. That's what gets Joe Milton flying. And we see it all the time. And he ran maybe too much. And now in practice, not enough in the games, maybe to find that mixture.
You know, he seemed to loosen up in these 2 night practices.
Yes.
And Schottenheimer even said it that, hey, that's part of your skill. So if you get an opportunity, you think you got to run, go ahead and run. And it's what you said, play football. Don't be robotic in that backfield.
And he can get a first down in 3 steps. I mean, that's how tall he is at his long stride. You know, he reminds me of Pickens in that way, that, you know, he catches the ball, next thing you know, he's got 25 yards down the field. Same with Milton in the way that, you know, he can pick up first downs, but he's got to figure out a way to kind of do it in the right situations, not just take off all the time.
One of the interesting parts of this, and it's a good thing, bad thing. The good thing is you have Joe Milton under contract for 2 years. You can grow into it. The bad thing is you have him under contract for 2 years, because if it continues to be a question mark, it will continue to be a question mark into next year as well. Joe Milton's not going anywhere depending on what happens tonight, but it is his best opportunity to put out good film by the end of this preseason and show teams outside of the Cowboys and within the Cowboys exactly what he has behind center. Nick Eatman on DallasCowboys.com. You can catch him Monday through Friday on Cowboys Storyline as well. Be sure to give him a call and test his trivia knowledge too. He's really good at that on Cowboys stuff. When we come back, we go from Joe Milton to some of the guys Joe Milton will be throwing to. Ryan Flanoy has an opportunity at hand. We'll talk to Tommy Yarish when we come back. This segment is brought to you by Ashley Home Store, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys. A beautiful look at AT&T Stadium, back-to-back home games to wrap up the preseason here in 2025. Today against the Atlanta Falcons. Your Dallas Cowboys do put the rearview mirror, or excuse me, the preseason in the rearview mirror. He's Mickey Spagnola. I'm Kyle Yeomans, now joined by Tommy Yarish of DallasCowboys.com. Always a pleasure catching up with you, Tommy. And I know you want to talk about this wide receiver room. Of course, they add guys like George Pickens early in the training camp, early in the offseason. He's great in training camp. Won't see him tonight, but what we will see is a competition for those final roster spots.
Right, and with Jonathan Mingo expected to go to injured reserve, it's even more of a roster spot being open right now, which means that tonight is a job interview for a lot of guys like Ryan Flanoy.
Super important. It's my championship. You know, I'm gonna stay calm and cool and collective. You know, for me, I'm fighting, but you know, I can't panic. So just for me, just go out there, play fast and physical, and just do all I can do, and you know, God take care of the rest.
Yeah, and for Ryan Flanoy and other guys like Jalen Brooks, Trayshawn Holden, you know, Mingo opening up that spot, likely to start the season on IR, means one of these guys might be able to start on the 53-man roster when maybe they wouldn't have had a spot beforehand. So if that's what the Cowboys decide to do with the 53, Flanoy is a guy to watch. Jalen Brooks is a guy to watch. Trayshawn Holden, Josh Kelly, all those guys potentially fighting for a job tonight.
Well, why is Ryan Flanoy your player to watch presented by American Airlines? Because you can only name one of those, and he was the one you chose.
Yeah, I think it's because he's probably the leader in the clubhouse from those 4 names that I listed, right? We think about the training camp practices that he has had, and he has consistently been open. He's worked the middle of the field really well. He's got good speed, and he's just been consistent. That's what Brian Schottenheimer says he wants when he was asked about, hey, how do you kind of determine guys when you're narrowing down the 53? He wants consistency. I think Ryan Flanoy has been consistent as compared to the rest of those wide receivers. Trayshawn Holden has made a pretty good argument for himself, and then Jalen Brooks too, just because of what he gives you on special teams. That's going to be so important. I think he's the starting gunner on punt coverage, so that's an important aspect of this too. When you're getting down to the narrow parts, can you contribute on special teams? Both of those guys can, and who can do it best, that's what's going to come down to here in the next couple days.
And you need to ignore the numbers, like the number of catches, because when I see Flanoy play, especially these 2 last night practices, he's getting open. They may not, whoever's at quarterback, and it's usually Milton, may not hit him when he's open. But he is getting open repeatedly on all the routes, not just deep routes, but intermediate routes, which is important if you're going to be one of the top 5 or 6 receivers on this team.
You're absolutely right, Mickey, and I was joking with you before this that Ryan Flanoy has the most coulda, shoulda, woulda been preseason receiving yards in NFL history, just because he's been open, like you said, and the ball just hasn't found his hands. And so, you know, he's putting good things on tape in terms of, hey, I'm getting open, I'm doing my job, and I am available for my quarterback. Now he just needs to be thrown a catchable ball, and we'll see if Joe Milton can take that next step and really just settling in and finally finding his rhythm. I think the last 2 games, when you look at why he struggled, a big part of it is he hasn't gotten in a rhythm early. He had the safety last week after two plays that both went backwards for Miles Sanders. He has not been set up to get in rhythm and get comfortable.
And that's something he's going to have to do tonight to try and find that rhythm again and try and piece together exactly what they have in the passing game and maybe get one final good look at it going into the regular season. Tommy Yarish, as always, great job. You can catch him on DallasCowboys.com all day, every day, and on the Cowboys Now app. When we come back, we flip our attention to the defensive side of the ball. Who has the pressure to not only make the 53-man roster, but to possibly be a starter on defense? This segment was brought to you by Ashley Home Store, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys. This segment is brought to you by Reliant, official energy provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys fans bringing the energy inside AT&T Stadium. The countdown to kickoff continues. Just under 30 minutes to the start of Atlanta Falcons and Dallas Cowboys. Back alongside Mickey Spagnola, I'm Kyle Yeomans, and part of the fun in the preseason is seeing guys not only fighting for a roster spot, but possibly for a starting role, and that is the current situation at the nickel corner spot. Two guys, both young, both inexperienced in their own different ways, fighting for the same spot. We'll start with one end of the battle at the moment, and it's Kemon Hall, the corner out of the University of North Texas.
In the middle of an ongoing battle for the starting nickel spot is an unlikely face, Kemon Hall. Los Angeles, Minnesota, New Orleans, San Francisco, and Dallas were each a stop for Hall, some on multiple occasions, as he tried to find a home on NFL practice squads and special teams units since his career began in 2019. But this year, with the Cowboys, he has now worked his way to his biggest opportunity thus far.
I haven't been in this position, my whole career, in the NFL, so it's cool to be able, to stay the course and be able to work to this position, because the dream is being a starter on defense.
After spending 7 seasons touring the league, multiple injuries in the cornerback room have allowed for extra snaps and playmaking moments in training camp. A very different roster situation than his first stint with Dallas back in 2020.
That year, the Cowboys drafted like 4 corners in the, the spring that year, so it really wasn't an opportunity. When I got my ops, I did what I had to do. I guess it wasn't enough at that time, so I really just, started back from ground up and ended up getting picked up by the Chargers. That's the year I made the 53 when they called me back after the Cowboys released me.
Hall played in 16 games for the Chargers during that 2021 season, earning his first real playing time as a professional. However, he would wait nearly 2 full seasons for another regular season appearance upon re-signing with the Cowboys in 2024.
It was a lot at that age, not knowing the way the NFL really works, but my work ethic didn't change, so that's what kept me alive in the league and just kept building, and it finally worked out. Weight off my shoulders, just for a split second, but you got to go right back to work, so.
He's continued that work this offseason, making plays in practice and taking advantage of his relationship with special teams coordinator Nick Sorensen.
I got a relationship with Nick because I was with the 49ers last year, so, understanding, already knowing his style of play and, the way he go about ball, it's cool to be able to reunite with him.
And with C.J. Goodwin on the special teams unit.
Watching his tape, studying him, building relationships, asking him questions on Instagram and stuff like that, throughout the season. And, we're still tight now.
All this has built to a productive summer, full of impressive tape for the coaching staff and a shot to earn a 53-man roster spot or even a starting job in the Cowboys secondary.
Seemed like every couple of days or maybe even every day throughout training camp, Kemon Hall was making plays in the secondary. Special teams is what's going to put him on the roster, Mickey, but the way that he played in the secondary may have him starting in the nickel slot.
Well, the Cowboys need somebody to fill that nickel slot, and tonight they will have no Bland, Elam, Booth, so he's going to get a big work, and the guy that's challenged him, we'll keep an eye on him tonight, Zion Childress.
And let's hear more on Zion Childress when we come back here on Countdown to Kickoff. He's in this competition too. Nicole Hutchison will sit down with Zion Childress, and we continue to talk that nickel spot when we come back. This segment was brought to you by Reliant, official energy provider of the Dallas Cowboys. This segment is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Cowboys, Falcons, final preseason matchup of 2025 as we're now joined by Nicole Hutchison on the sideline. We've already heard about Kemon Hall Now I want you to tell us about Zion Childress in this cornerback battle.
Yeah, the rookie out of Kentucky has had one of the more impressive camps for the Dallas defense, but this is a kid who, you know, has certainly earned the trust of his coaching staff, right? We saw him taking third-team reps earlier in Oxnard, ended up taking first-team reps in Oxnard after training camp finally ended. But you talk about a guy who thrives when he's around the football. He's shown that he's a playmaker. Well, now it's all about consistency for Zion. Training camp isn't just about the stars at the top of the depth chart. It's about the battles that define the roster, and one of the fiercest has been at nickel corner. And in that fight, undrafted free agent rookie Zion Childress has now loudly made his case. A strong camp backed up by live game reps.
Just being able to get comfortable, being around some great people, great coaches, great teammates is just allowing me to continue to build on what I do every day. Just being able to learn from the older guys, the vets, not taking this opportunity for granted. Just blessed to be here and really excited to just put my best foot forward every day.
In the 2 preseason games combined, he's flashed toughness in space, the 4th leading tackler amongst the DBs, but also his ability to get to the quarterback and be disruptive in the run game.
Just growing up, my dad always preached to me that you're a football player, you're not just a one-show pony, so I've always took pride in that. I've just been me, just played football very fast, played physical, communicated very well, and just got the ball. I feel like, you know, in the game, in the preseason games, I can do a little bit better job of just being consistent in my play, but just continue to be me playing football the way I play football. Not a lot of people want to play football like that.
He's even on plays that don't pop up on the stat sheet. Against the Ravens, first quarter, he takes away an option for Cooper Rush, helping force Baltimore to settle for a field goal. And how about in the first quarter again? He gets through on a free corner blitz, forcing Cooper Rush to get the ball out quick. In result, pick 6 for Dallas.
The instincts, the physicality that he plays with, and he just throws his body around. I mean, and that was something that you did see on the film from Kentucky when you studied him.
It's a battle for the nickel corner #1 spot, from experimenting with 2023 pick 6 leader Deron Bland, who's also played inside before, to Kemon Hall, who's flashed all preseason as well. So it's all about consistency for Zion.
It's no pressure, but it's obviously another opportunity to be able to just play football, have fun, and go out there and put my best foot forward. But I think I'll be able to, you know, just continue to be who I've been, and the past couple of weeks continue to make plays and continue to play fast.
2 games in, Zion's in the nickel corner conversation. But after game 3, he's looking to control it.
I just wanted to make the 53-man roster, honestly. I just wanted to be able to be a part of the team. I know this has been my dream my whole life, and I feel like it's no longer a dream, it's reality, so it's good to be here.
Now, Kyle, Mickey, I mean, you guys remember Jordan Lewis, one of the best tacklers on this team last year, and how much of a dog he was, one of the best tacklers, like I mentioned, but I feel like Zion gives that kind of Jordan Lewis-esque type of vibes, right? He's aggressive in his play style. He's a great tackler sometimes. Now, Shotty did mention he does get a little dirty eyes in coverage, but, I mean, he's got good instincts for a rookie. There's a lot of upside for Zion, for sure.
And that might be the difference between him and Kemon Hall. Hall, who's been in the league for since 2019. Then you've got a rookie. Does that play a factor when you look at the way that this could shake out tonight?
Well, I think Zion's got some experience playing in the nickel. I kind of jumped in on Nicole's interview with him the other night, and I asked him, I said, so how much have you played nickel at Kentucky? And he said, well, I started off as a safety. And he goes, I was so far from the ball. So I went up to head coach Mark Stoops and said, can I play closer to the line of scrimmage? And he said, all right, you're the nickel back. So he ended up playing that season as a nickel. And you know what I like about him? Kind of his attitude. It's not cocky, but it's confident. And if you're going to play cornerback in this league, you got to be confident, because you're going to get beat. You just need to make some plays.
That's going to be one of the big things going into this matchup. Not only are Kemon Hall and Zion Childress competing for a spot, they've also been very close throughout this entire process. It's been fun to see. Remember, watch 43 and 48 on defense as you're watching the game tonight. Nicole Hutchison, thank you so much. You can catch her on the sidelines once this one
one gets underway. When we come back on Countdown to Kickoff, we wrap things up on the sideline and then send it to the booth. The final segment of Countdown to Kickoff this preseason. This segment was brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Download the Cowboys Now app on your connected TV and catch up on all of your favorite Dallas Cowboys podcasts, stories, and a whole lot more. The Dallas Cowboys Now app on your connected TV. Atlanta Falcons, Dallas Cowboys preseason week 3 here from Arlington alongside Mickey Spagnola. I'm Kyle Yeomans with one final segment from the sidelines before we send it to Bill and Isaiah in the booth. But what are your thoughts on position battles and what you want to see out of this final tune-up to the regular season?
I think one of the positions that they have to settle is on the offensive line, the backups. We know who the starters are, and you can tell by who's not playing today. So the starters on the offensive line, which includes Nate Thomas, assuming Tyler Guyton's not back, they won't be playing. I'm told Hakeem Adeniji is kind of in reserve in case he has to. So you're going to see a lot of young guys out there trying to win backup jobs. And it's important because you're not going to start 17 games with all 5 offensive linemen all year long, right? So keep an eye on guys like TJ Bass and Awesome Richards. These guys are going to get an opportunity to play a whole lot of football tonight.
I'm going to keep my eyes on the guys behind them, the guys they'll be blocking for, and that's the running back position, because we went into tonight thinking, oh my gosh, it's wide open. Then Miles Sanders doesn't have any pads on. We asked Brian Schottenheimer at the start of the show. He says, oh, Sanders was banged up. That's why he's not playing tonight. And so with all that being said, we still have no idea who is making the team underneath Javonte Williams. We have a good idea that it could be Jaden Blue, Phil Maffa fighting for a spot, Miles Sanders fighting for a spot, who is unavailable tonight. But I'm excited to see that man right there, Jaden Blue, the rookie out of Texas, his first in-game preseason action. He's an electrifying runner. I think he'll have a couple electrifying takes tonight.
And I hope he has the opportunity to do what he was doing in training camp that last week before he got hurt. This guy was running between the tackles, and he was running with explosion. I know he's fast, but he gets going fast. And if you can do that at the running back position, you got a spot on my team.
He may be a star in that backfield for the Cowboys when it's all said and done. And this might be the first look we have at him in a Cowboys backfield when it's all said and done. That's going to do it for us here on Countdown to Kickoff. Thanks for joining us through the 3 preseason games. The first one at SoFi, these last 2 at AT&T Stadium. Mickey, it's always a pleasure. You're a legend in my book. We've done these shows for 5 years now and been a part of these preseason broadcasts for 5 years now, and it's one of my highlights of my entire year.
Well, don't ask me how long I've been doing it, okay?
A little bit longer than 5 years, but we appreciate Roxanne Medina and our entire crew behind the scenes. When we come back, we're not done quite yet. Bill Jones, Isaiah Stanback, get you ready for Falcons and Cowboys. Kickoff is here. It's the final preseason matchup.
Countdown to Kickoff continues from here at AT&T Stadium as the Cowboys get set to take on the Atlanta Falcons, the 3rd and final preseason game for 2025. Of course, it was just over a month ago the Cowboys started training camp in Oxnard, California, with plenty of questions. Some of those questions perhaps will be answered tonight. Bill Jones here in the broadcast booth with Isaiah Stanback. And one of the big questions coming into training camp was on the defensive line. And specifically, let's hone in, Isaiah, at the defensive tackle position. We know Osa Odigizua and Solomon Thomas are at the top of the depth chart. We don't know much more than that. And that starts with Mozzie Smith, the former first-round draft pick.
No, you're absolutely correct. This has been a pain point for the Dallas Cowboys defense, regardless of who the defensive coordinator secondary has been. Dan Quinn, it was an issue. Mike Zimmer, it was an issue. Now all of a sudden Matt Eberflus is in the building, and he's still trying to resolve this problem. You mentioned the starters that we're not going to see tonight, but behind that, Mozzie Smith, the guy who's been the first-round draft pick 3 years ago, people are still waiting to see him show up. They're still waiting to see him be more than just another guy on the field. So what impact can he have on tonight's game? Other than him, there's a lot of other guys. Jay Toia, who's this year's draft pick. What is he going to do? Big fella in the middle, but plays with his pads high. Can he drop his base, get low, and drive the offensive lineman on their side of the ball? These are all things that Aaron Whitecott, the defensive line coach, and Matt Eberflus, the defensive coordinator, are going to be looking for tonight.
Yeah, and Perion Winfrey is another one, a guy who played in the United Football League, the Spring League, number 99. But what does it say that here we are, the third and final preseason game, and those guys like Mozzie Smith are playing in this game?
Well, it lets you know right off the bat, Bill, that position is not solidified. Two guys are solidified for those roles. That is going to be Solomon Thomas and Osa Odigizua. Outside of that, as you mentioned, they are looking. So you're either going to be looking to see if these guys can show up tonight, or you're going to be looking at 31 other rosters to figure out how you can fill that gap.
And elsewhere on the defensive line, at the defensive end position, Peyton Turner is another one who will be playing tonight, a guy they signed in the offseason, a former first-round draft pick of the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, he has a great opportunity to show what he's capable of doing, but he also has Tyrus Wheat out there that all he does is all show up in these preseason games. That's one of the deeper position groups on this team that's going to be harder to stand out, but what can you show on that side of the ball and in special teams?
All right, trying to win jobs. The cut-down day in the league is on Tuesday. Kyle Yeomans and Mickey Spagnola brought you here, and we'll take you the rest of the way. The kickoff is straight ahead from AT&T Stadium.